Hey everybody, welcome back to the Nyedis Anarchy series. I'm your host Adam, the CIO and co-founder of Nyedis, and today we're going to talk about what it takes to get started out in the tech industry. So I've been getting asked a lot of questions like on Instagram and stuff and comments about, hey, what do I do? Like, I want to get involved. This is what I want to do for a career. It looks fun. It looks exciting. Or maybe just, hey, I think I'm going to make a ton of money. What do I do? How do I get started in this stuff? So it's it's a very broad question because the tech industry is huge. It could be literally anything, right? So the thing you really want to do is find out what part of the tech industry interests you the most and then really focus on that part. Don't try to just say, hey, I'm in tech, because there's just too much there. Like I was saying before, one of the best things I've ever learned in life was this guy that told me, hey, once you know that you don't know anything, that's when you know something. And that's how I definitely feel in the tech industry, because there's so much out there to know. I know like a drop in the bucket compared to what's actually out there. So first thing is pick out the actual industry, the little part of it, that niche that you want to work in, and focus on that. The second thing is most of us, like nerds, geeks, whatever you want to call us, that are really into this stuff, we are into this as a passion. So like we've been doing this way before we started getting paid for it, and we would be doing this even if we weren't getting paid for it. So when it turns 5 o'clock and the shift is over, we're still on our computer doing something else. When it's the weekends and it's like, hey, what are you doing? It's like, oh, I'm on my computer. It's like, oh, you're working. It's like, well, technically, but I'm having fun. Like I love this stuff, this development thing I'm working on, or this cool project I'm doing, or this new service I've made. Like that kind of stuff is exciting. Like we have fun doing it. So it's really important to pick an area where you're going to enjoy it. Now, this is another thing I would say is like maybe kind of defer, like, do you want to do development work? So do you want to do code and development and write things? That's one area. And then there's all different types of languages and platforms you make there. Or maybe that doesn't interest you. Maybe you're more like, you know what, I'm more of a graphical person. So go into UI, go into UX design work. That's all technical industry too. Whole different area of field. That's a very creative field. Or the other one is more analytical thinking, right? So there's that different thing. Like, are you more of a creative person, or are you more of a linear, like, hey, I want the things to work the way I tell them to do? That means you're more like developer guy. If you're like, oh, I like pretty flowers and hanging out, you're probably more on the UI, the front end, as we call it. So if you're more of a front end developer, then you're going to do the stuff that people see and interact with and touch and things like that. That's front end. If you want to do back end development, that's when you're doing development, like from the code, or you're building servers or working in the cloud and setting up network infrastructure and all that kind of stuff. So you kind of got to figure out what is your interest. Now for me, I liked everything. So I wound up doing pretty much like a little bit of it all. So I do UI design work, I do development work, I do cloud infrastructure work, security work, architecture, infrastructure. So I kind of just wound up doing everything over the years, but I enjoy all of it. Like to me, tech as a whole is just interesting. So I'm always interested, which is why like now blockchain comes out. I'm interested in blockchain technology. So it's like, I really want to know more about that. So I've been diving into that for the last 2-3 years now. So it really just comes and goes away. But like I said, just follow what you're passionate about. Like do what really genuinely interests you. And if you're really starting out super low level, meaning you know nothing, well, at that point in time, you got to kind of do what the colleges throw at you, which is like, oh, learn this programming language. Now learn networking. Now learn this. Now learn geography. Now learn psychology. You're like, why the hell am I learning geography when I'm taking Japanese business and linguistics? Like they have nothing to do with each other. Well, it's kind of the thing. They want you to just kind of, one, they want your money, but two, they want you to just get a feel of all the other stuff that's out there, because you might be like, whoa, this is really awesome. I want to do that. So you kind of got to do that with computers. So try a little development, try a little UI design, work with some Photoshop, get an IDE and start writing a program of some kind, learn Python, watch YouTube videos on how to do all this stuff. It's the most free education out there. And then you got Udemy, 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 I call it Udemy. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. A Cloud Guru, another cool website. Lots of good places where you can pay for their courses to learn stuff, and they're super cheap, and you get lots of great info from most of these things. But even then, a ton of them are free. And like I said, YouTube, tons of information on pretty much whatever you want and how to do everything. Now, I wouldn't jump in and be like, oh, I want to learn AI, because that's a very complex process. You need to learn a lot of other stuff to get really the full grasp and understanding of development of something as complex as AI. So don't start with those big, huge things like, oh, I'm going to be the next best blockchain developer. It's like, okay, first you need to learn some low-level scripting. You need to learn how network infrastructure works and all this kind of stuff. So just look into it. There's tons of information out there, but just the best piece of advice I can give you is really just follow your passion. Because if you do what you like doing, then when you have to tweak it and you got to do it for a job, you're kind of like, okay, this kind of sucks because it's not that fun, but it could be way worse, right? Because most people don't like their job as a whole. There's like, they hate it every day. They wake up and like, oh, I can't believe I have to go to work today. You don't want to be that person. You want to wake up and be like, oh, well, today I got a couple annoying things I got to deal with, but whatever, not a big deal. If you can get to that place and you find that level of tech that you want to work on that makes you wake up and be like, oh, this will be cool, I'm going to learn something neat, that's what you want to do. Because as you stay in this industry, you'll start learning more and more things and just start saying yes to stuff. It's like, hey, who wants to do this? Like, I do. That's how I got into identity management a long time ago. I was working at a life insurance company down on Wall Street, and I was doing legit data entry. They'd give me a stack of papers and I have to put it into a mainframe, and it was called like data security analyst or something. It had a cool title, but literally I was taking pieces of paper and entering it into a computer system, and I was getting paid like $45,000 a year. I thought I was rich beyond my wildest imagination because I was just out of college where I've been broke for the last 5 years straight. So that job sucked and I didn't like it. But then one day someone's like, hey, we have this new stuff in place. None of us understand it. We have an LDAP and this thing called Tivoli Access Manager. We need someone to own it. Who wants to do that? I was like, me? I had no idea what I was volunteering for, but that volunteer wound up changing my whole life because now that's all I do is identity and access management still to this day. Now, I can also tell you though, I definitely like to follow the trends of what is paying the most, right? Well, not necessarily the most, but on that, like that high top 10% of jobs that are out there, I want to work in an industry that's going to pay me the most amount of money for doing what I want to do. So if you want to be a Java developer, you're not going to make a ton of money, right? So there's just too many of them, and definitely offshored like crazy. So those rates are just garbage. So if you're like, oh man, I want to make a ton of money in the tech industry, I want to become a Java developer. No one is saying that, I promise you right now. Now Python, like we've been talking about before, if you're looking for development languages, you can learn a lot in Python, and I would say it's an up and coming language. It's been around forever, don't get me wrong, and it's been useful and it's been great forever too. But only in the past 3 years has its use just skyrocketed, and just it's so common now that it's one of those. I would recommend doing that. Now, are you gonna make a ton of money being a Python developer? Not really, but using Python and using your big brain, and you become a data analytics scientist where you're actually creating the algorithms and everything that these machine learning models are doing their training off of, and you're writing all that in Python. Now those people make a ton of money. So look in the industry for what jobs are paying the most money and figure out, okay, does this look exciting to you? And it's like, no, you're just gonna be analyzing statistical data all day. That sounds utterly horrible to me. I don't care how much you're paying me, I'm not gonna do it. And then it's like, oh, hey, we want you to be a cloud architect focusing on security, and you have to have your CISSP, and you're noticing a lot of those jobs pay a lot of money, or a lot of those gigs pay out well. Well, maybe you should start learning AWS cloud security. Is it exciting? You're like, oh wow, this is actually kind of fun. Sweet. Now you're noticing CISSP is being recommended everywhere. So check out that certification. It's a lot of work, but if you're reading that book, or you're sitting there like, man, this is homework. It's like reading Native American literature. Like, this is not it for me. Then I don't recommend going down that route. But if you're reading that, picking it up like, man, this is cool. This is exciting. I'm learning a lot of cool stuff. Hey, there you go. Go get your CISSP. So follow your passion. Pick an industry that has money that's tied to your passion, and then just gorge on it. Go crazy. Spend all day, all night learning, playing around. Give yourself projects to make. I can't tell you how many times I've started projects. All my friends, my family, my wife are like, why are you doing this? You're spending, like, I just spent a year creating a completely decentralized blockchain social platform. Is anyone going to buy it? Am I going to make any money off that? No. But what I learned in blockchain development, and blockchain security, and auditing, and all this other fun stuff, like, it was the most beneficial education I've got in blockchain development ever. Like, what I learned in that last year is more than I could have ever been taught anywhere. So just jump in. Don't be afraid to break stuff. Go in, hack away, and see what you can figure out. I hope you guys have the best. If you have any questions, or if you want to hit me up directly, obviously feel free. You can leave comments so you guys have been before, or hit me up on email, adam@nyedis.com. I'll answer all your questions. Right now, I actually am going to start hiring too. So I am looking for somebody. Unfortunately, it's not someone that's in tech or looking to get into tech. I'm looking for a salesperson. So if you are interested in coming and working with us or talking with us about a sales role that we have, hit us up adam@nyedis.com, or you can find us through the website and LinkedIn. See you guys around. Later.